Friends, Namaskar. The book for today is No One Is Too Small to Make a Difference by teenager climate activist Greta Thunberg. Friends, this book was published on 30th May 2019. It consists of a collection of 11 speeches which she has written and presented about global warming and the climate crisis. Greta Thunberg, born in 2003 August, one day decided not to go to school. She started a strike outside the Swedish parliament. Her actions sparked a global movement on climate crisis, inspiring millions of pupils to go on strike to save our planet. This helped her earning the prestigious Prix Liberty as well as the Nobel Peace Prize nomination. Greta has Asperger's syndrome. Now, this is a development disorder characterized by significant difficulties in social interaction and non-verbal communication, along with restricted and repetitive patterns of behavior and interest. But she considers it to be a gift that has enabled her to see the climate crisis in black and white. No One Is Too Small to Make a Difference is Greta's first book in English, collecting her speeches from climate rallies across Europe to audiences at the UN, the World Economic Forum, and the British Parliament. Her next book, Scenes from the Heart, is a memoir jointly written with her mother, the opera singer Milena Ernman, her sister Beata Ernman, and her father Svante Thunberg. The book is by Penguin and comprises of just 68 pages. Now, in a compilation of speeches, she makes some very relevant points that I'll take you through. She says, when school started in August this year, I decided that this was enough. I sat myself down on the ground outside the Swedish parliament. I school striked for the climate. Climate scientist Johan Rockström and some other people wrote that we have at best 3 years to reverse growth in greenhouse gas emissions if we were to reach the goals set in the Paris Agreement. Since then, over a year and 2 months have already passed, and in that time many other scientists have said the same thing, and a lot of things have got worse and greenhouse emissions continue to increase. In Sweden, we live our lives as if we had the resources of 4.2 planets. Our carbon footprint is one of the 10 worst in the world. This means Sweden steals 3.2 years of natural resources from future generations every year. Those of us who are part of these future generations would like Sweden to stop doing that. She is not shy of criticizing her own country while trying to save the planet from global warming. A lot of people say that Sweden is a small country, that it doesn't matter what we do, but I think it does matter. And I think that if a few girls can get headlines all over the world by just not going to school for a few weeks, imagine what we could do together if we wanted to. Newspapers still don't write about climate change, although they know climate is the critical question of our time. Many politicians have ridiculed me and us that I'm retarded, a bitch, and a terrorist, and many other things. When I was 8 years old, I first heard about something called climate change or global warming. Apparently, that was something humans had created by our way of living. If burning fossil fuels was so bad that it threatened our very existence, how could we just continue like before? Why were there no restrictions? Why wasn't it made illegal? Countries like Sweden and UK need to start reducing emissions by at least 15% every year to stay below a 2 °C warming target. Now, IPCC, that is the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, say that we have to aim for 1.5 °C, and the same goes for United States of America. No one ever speaks about the aspect of equity or climate justice clearly stated everywhere in the Paris Agreement and the Kyoto Protocol, which is absolutely necessary to make the Paris Agreement work on a global scale. This would mean rich countries need to get down to zero emissions within 6 to 12 years so that people in poorer countries can heighten their standard of living by building some of the infrastructure that we have already built, such as roads, hospitals, electricity, schools, clean drinking water. Because how can we expect countries like India or Nigeria to care about climatic crisis if we, who already have everything, don't care even a second about it, or our actual commitments uh, to Paris Agreement? She further goes on to say in one of her speeches is very interesting. Why should I be studying for a future that soon will be no more when no one is doing anything whatsoever to save that future? Today we use 100 million barrels of oil every day. There are no politics to change that. There are no rules to keep that oil in the ground. According to the IPCC, we are less than 12 years away from not being able to undo our mistakes. There are no grey areas when it comes to survival. Here in Davos, just like everywhere else, everyone is talking about money. It seems that money and growth are the only concerns humanity has. We are now at a time in history where everyone with an insight of the climate crisis that threatens our civilization and the entire biosphere must speak out. The bigger your carbon footprint, the bigger your moral duty. The bigger your platform, the bigger your responsibility. In May 2018, I was one of the winners in a writing competition about the environment held by Svenska Dagbladet, a Swedish newspaper. I got my article published and some people contacted me. Among others were both Horain from Fossil Free Dalsland. On 20th of August, I sat down outside the Swedish Parliament. I handed out flyers with a long list of facts about the climate crisis and explanations on why I was striking. The first thing I did was to post on Twitter and Instagram what I was doing, and it soon went viral. Then journalists and newspaper started coming to me. A Swedish entrepreneur and businessman active in the climate movement, his name was Ingemar Renzog, was among the first to arrive. He spoke with me and took pictures that he posted on Facebook. Many people say that we don't have any solutions to the climate crisis, and they are right, because how could we? How do we solve the greatest crisis that humanity has ever faced? How do we solve a war? How do you solve going to the moon for the first time? How do you solve inventing new inventions? The climate crisis is both easiest and hardest issue we have ever faced in this planet. Friends, this is a priceless book written by a teenager activist, hence I would not like to rate it, but it is priceless. Believe me, this little girl at this very tender age could comprehend and understand how global warming is going to affect the planet very, very adversely. And I would recommend this book to every Indian who should read this and understand as to what is happening to this world. And it's something like Greta Thunberg is giving us an advanced warning of the fiasco, or you could say the disaster that is likely to hit the world. So friends, that's all I have for today. Goodbye and see you next week.